Communications at the Victory Institute. What about the person who's sitting there and listening to this and going, yeah, I like it, I'm digging it, but doesn't it take a lot of money to run for office? Like, I don't even know how I'd begin to raise all that cash. Like, should that be a barrier to them going to an informational session?
No, don't let that be a barrier. I think there's a long process, right, to get ready to actually run for office. You may go to a session and it may not be the right time. You may want to get involved in a campaign and work on a campaign before you actually run for office. I think that, yes, there's a lot of money in politics, but especially when you're talking about the local level, it's not as much about money. Now, when you get up to the higher offices, certainly, and you're trying to book ads on television stations or pay a field team, it can get a little bit more pricey. And then that's when our sister organization, Victory Fund, we help to support that fundraising piece on the Victory Fund side if you're an endorsed candidate. But if you're not, if you're looking to run for a local office or looking to be involved in local politics, oftentimes there's not a cost involved. You can just do it. You can just get involved. So don't let cost be a barrier. Don't let money be a barrier. If you are passionate about it, you can rally people around your cause, and then all those other things will follow.
Perfect. I could have talked to you for a whole other hour, Ori, but we're at the end of our time. You can connect with the Victory Institute at victoryinstitute.org. Just search for that on your social media channel, and you'll find them as well. Thank you, Ori, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, John, and I'm happy to come back anytime.
Oh, we'll be reaching out. We'll be reaching out because I have a feeling that democracy, this isn't the end of the conversation about democracy and LGBTQ.
We're not even through this year yet. We have a whole new election. We'll be in touch. Yeah. There's a lot happening. It's a
whole other 3.5 years.
And we're thankful to you and thankful to LGBTQ media for uplifting our stories and being the pulse of our community. So thank you all for doing the work that you do, because it's not easy to track all the things that are happening and still be positive about it.
Exactly. All right, up next on WCPT 820, it's Choose Views with Richard Chu on AM 950 Radio. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio, and then Ghostbox Radio at 10 p.m. Central. And until tomorrow, America, keep it queer.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
As a veteran, you get a lot of advice, but wisdom's harder to come by. A lot of people imagine themselves in our shoes without understanding the weight on our shoulders. The truth is, few can understand the pressure of finding your own way after serving in the military. But few isn't none. Steady yourself. You're not alone. You've got support. Learn more at maketheconnection.net.
You know that feeling? Like every door is closing and you just can't see a way out? Being unemployed, underemployed, or just out of school feels a lot like that. But when you find the right tools, suddenly everything just clicks. Getting on that path may be easier than you think. A good place to start? Go to findsomethingnew.org. At findsomethingnew.org, you have access to resources that help develop new skills. Skills that will position you for careers in today's growing industries. From healthcare and manufacturing to cybersecurity and alternative energy. Plus, you can take advantage of online courses, certification programs, apprenticeships, and more. So you can take yourself from unemployed and uncertain to empowered and prepared for what's next. Find your path to a new career today. Visit findsomethingnew.org. A message from the Ad Council.
Has your gambling become a financial and emotional problem? Is your life unmanageable and you're starting to lose hope that you can put an end to the madness? You don't have to suffer alone. There is help. The members of Gamblers Anonymous are ready to welcome and support you. We understand what you're going through. We have been where you are today. Please visit our website at www.gachicago.org and learn more about how your life can get better. That's www.gachicago.org.
Whether you visit in person or virtually, the library can help you access the resources and services you need. Libraries have been adapting to our changing world by expanding their resources and services. Through access to technology, multimedia content, and educational programs, libraries offer opportunities for everyone to explore new worlds and become their best selves. National Library Week is April 4th through 10th, the perfect time to visit your library's website or ilovelibraries.org to learn more. Sponsored by the American Library Association.
Facts matter now more than ever. This is WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. We're your source for truth.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The Israeli military says all 20 hostages who were still alive in Gaza are now back in Israel. People in Tel Aviv's hostages square cheered as their names were read on TV. Over 1,900 Palestinian prisoners held by Israel are set to be freed in the ceasefire deal. During his speech to the Israeli parliament, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledged that he is committed to this peace. And AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports released Israeli hostage Alan Ohel is met by the Israeli military for transport into Israel.
At a location not specified by the Israel Defense Forces, freed hostage Alon Ohel talks with an IDF representative. Ohel, who's 24 and also has German and Serbian citizenship, was kidnapped at the Nova Music Festival from a mobile bomb shelter along with Hersh Polin, an American-Israeli who was killed in captivity in August 2024. A talented pianist, Ohel's family has placed pianos across Israel and several sites around the world to raise awareness of his plight. 3 other hostages who've been held with Ohel for more than a year were released during the previous ceasefire, including Eli Sharabi, who said Ohel was like his adopted son. Sharabi had explained they were kept chained for the entire period of their captivity. Ohel has shrapnel in his eye from the attack on the bomb shelter, and his family is worried he may be partially blind. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Hans Ellegren, the Secretary General of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, says 3 researchers have won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics
for having explained innovation-driven economic growth.
The remnants of a typhoon brought hurricane-force winds and massive coastal floods to western Alaska. Authorities say up to 20 people could be unaccounted for. More on this and other stories at apnews.com. This is AP News. AP correspondent Jennifer King reports on the passing of Hollywood comedy great Diane Keaton.
Oscar-winning star Diane Keaton has died in California at age 79. The actress was known for her vibrance, depth, and quirky humor in such films as Annie Hall.
Oh, well, la-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
The Godfather.
My father made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
What was that? She was also in Baby Boom and Father of the Bride. She charmed for decades in part because of a long-standing collaboration with filmmaker Nancy Meyers. In a 1997 interview, Keaton said she had no idea that the dark comedy The First Wives Club would be such a big success.
I believed in Annie Hall. I mean, when I read that script, I just thought, oh, wow, this is so good. This is great. So I knew it, you know. Not that I knew it was going to do as well as it did, but I knew it was good.
I'm Jennifer King.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers possible late today with partial sunshine developing and a high in the low 70s. Winds out of the southeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, a low near 57. By Tuesday, mostly sunny, high of 71 degrees. And Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, a high of 65. Thursday, partial sunshine, high of 70. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
This is WCPT telling you You can shop blue. During Donald Trump's 2024 presidential campaign, and now even, he had his rallies where he poorly danced to the YMCA. Let's take a look at all the musicians who threatened to sue Donald Trump if he used any of their music at his rallies. ABBA, Adele, Aerosmith, Andrew Lloyd Webber, The Animals, Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen, Celine Dion, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Earth, Wind & Fire, Elton John, The Foo Fighters, Free, Guns N' Roses, Linkin Park, Neil Young, Nickelback, Olivia Rodrigo, Ozzy Osbourne, Panic at the Disco, Pharrell Williams, Phil Collins, and yes, that includes Genesis too, guys, The Estate of Prince, Queen, R.E.M., Rihanna, The Rolling Stones, Spinal Tap, Tom Petty, and Twisted Sister. So if you're looking to buy some records or go see a concert, I consider checking those artists out. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. It's time to fight. That has not changed, and yes, I am back after a week away. And I got to start off right with the thank yous, but let's get through our opening, and then we'll come back to that. Welcome to the October 13th, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, heartlandsignal.com, YouTube. Email me, of course, at richard@WCPT820.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, and Substack. And you can catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. Check everything out that we do here because it matters, just like facts matter. And, of course, make your way over to heartlandsignal.com because of the wonderful articles and posts that we have there every day. Some days more than others, but every day our folks at Heartland Signal, they get it done. Our digital news platform is one of the best in the nation, and that's where one of the things that you should add, as I say, every day for reason, to your arsenal. We've got a great article over there now. NBC's Jacob Sabaroff talks with a mother here in Chicago about seeing family members being taken away by ICE. And then we have another one from a first grade teacher from Funston Elementary School here in Chicago talking about these crazy ICE agents. Representative De La Ramirez, Justin Pearson, who was on had a conversation here on WCPT. We got it all, guys. That's where you want to go. That's where all the good stuff is. So make your way over to our digital platform so you can check out our work there. On today's show, and we will be busy back to back to back. Gloria Browne-Marshall will be with us. She is an author. She is a speaker. She's just a phenomenal woman that you guys will want to check out. Our interview with her in the 6:30 hour. Sarah Jones, who is our good friend from PoliticusUSA, will be with us. And Rich Logis with his guest, Anthony Brooks from Leaving MAGA. So that's who we've got as our lineup this morning in the 6:30, 7, and 7:30 hour. We'll squeeze some calls in this morning before the guests get on, and we will try to take them at the top and the bottom of the respective hours. So make your way there. But you know, guys, what I have to say right before we get too deep into the show is thanks to Michelle Peltier, who sat in for me last week and knocked it out of the park. Can we do with applause, Henry? Because he deserves that. That's what I'm talking about. Michelle got down last week, guys, and she had a wonderful list of guests and interviews and shows. It was just phenomenal. I peeked in and listened every now and again, as I was saying to my man Henry, that it was fun, and I was sending Michelle little sneaky messages. I also want to thank Karen Byrne for hanging out on Friday. Karen's always a great voice in this conversation that we have right now, and all the guests that we had on the show as well. But I have to also thank my man Henry, who's with us this morning, and Devin, Maddie B. You guys are phenomenal. Without them here, all of our engineering partners, we wouldn't be able to pull this off. So I want to thank Michelle, Karen. I want to thank all of our guests, and most certainly I want to thank our engineers and producers that made things happen. It's not easy. We get a rhythm when we do this thing. We get a rhythm. Henry walks in, we dap each other up. Devin walks in, Maddie B walks in, we dap each other up. We have a certain rhythm. And when that changes, it changes a little bit of the rhythm. It doesn't mean it's wrong or different, but it changes it. So navigating that, even with Michelle, who's a household name. She's the co-host of the family meeting here on Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m. But it still changes things a little bit. So when you pull it off, you feel really good. You have that big smile. And that just goes to show the great team that we have here at WCPT. And we're going to be busy this week. We've got a boatload of phenomenal guests that are going to be with us tomorrow. Amy McGrath is going to be on the show. Mayor of John Loesch from Aurora will be with us. Of course, our man Kurt Mullett will be with us on Wednesday. Rick Smith, Michelle Duster. We got a busy week. We got some great folks that are going to be hanging out with us, so that's going to be fun. Tom Hartman and I are going to be up at Max and Benny's on Wednesday from 3 to 5 doing our Union Hall event. That's been moved up to Max and Benny's because it's 2 blocks away from the detention center in Broadview. So the station made and I hope I'm not speaking out of school, but the station made a determination that it was probably better that we have it there, just given all that's going on, and I agree with that. So, but we got a busy week, and I'm looking forward to it. It's great to be back. I had a great time. My wife and I took a trip to Canada. We were thinking about it, but we came back. Henry would have been like, man, hey, hold on, Rich. Wait. What's up? Why you didn't take me? I would have sat quietly in the back seat. But we had a great time. We were blessed to be able to take a trip, and I got a chance to rest my voice a little bit. But I will tell you the thing that's one of the coolest things about traveling, and I'm an advocate of this. Henry had an opportunity to get away and do some things over the weekend, which he shared with me before we came on. As best you can, guys, this is a little bit of message from me. I've said this before, I'm sure. Make your way out of the community that you are in the dominant amount of time. Go someplace that you don't go. It might not even be out of the state or out of the country, but go someplace. Go to another neighborhood. If you commute to work by car, drive home differently. You know, if you take public transportation, maybe walk to the bus, the train, or whatever, a different route. You know, go a different block. Because what it does, and if you travel out of your city, your state, out of the country, what it does is it kind of blows your brain up a little bit. Henry shared a couple things with me. He's like, Richard, I didn't realize this. I won't get into, put his business in the street. It was a good thing. And he was like, wow, I didn't know this. And that's one of the things that I will say. And I'm being respectful from a budgetary standpoint, because not everybody can, we have to plan our travel according to a lot of things, our time, our budget, all those factors, our health. So the simple salvo is do something different in the world that you live in. Walk home differently, take a bike ride differently, take your bus ride, your train ride, whatever. Just do it a little bit differently. Test yourself outside of the norm of what you do in terms of you're going to and from work or going to and from to visit family, all the rest. And if you can get out of your community, if you can go away and go camping, or if you can go hiking or biking someplace else, or whatever, do that. Do that in general. I've been an advocate of that forever. I've been saying that when kids get out of high school, when they get their diploma, they should show that they have a passport and travel someplace else, travel outside of the U.S. It's good for you because it does, in my opinion, not even my opinion, my experience is this. It's not my opinion. This is actually my experience. It does 2 things. It allows you to see something other than what you see on a normal basis. And that's always good. That's a learning component. What it also does, in my experience, is it allows you to appreciate that which you have where you are. Right, Henry? Oh, yeah. It does. So you get to see something different, which is good for the brain, it's good for the heart, it's good for the soul. And it also allows you to appreciate what you have and where you are. And I think that that's a critically important thing for any of us at any time, especially right now. So I want y'all to be able to do that, because then we can be able to shoulder up and fight together to do the things that we have to do together, is, you know, have that little bit of expansion, appreciate other things, and then even have a better appreciation for what you got going on right now. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a couple clips we'll hit you with. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the summer of 1881, 2 decades after the Civil War, 20 African-American laundresses met at a local church in Atlanta to form the Washing Society, a trade organization which looked to create a higher uniform wage and greater work autonomy for laundresses, also known as washerwomen. Through the help of local preachers and door-to-door canvassing, the Washing Society grew from 20 members to 3,000 in only a few weeks. The workers went on strike and faced opposition from their employers as well as the local politicians. The Atlanta City Council proposed a licensing fee for their organizing efforts. Strikers agreed to the fee in exchange for self-regulation. In the end, the City Council rejected the proposed fees and the laundresses prevailed. The impact of the strike led to increased wages for some, but showed that African-American workers, including women, were vital to the New South economy. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're working for your rights.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
President Trump is talking about enacting the Insurrection Act. Does that change all of what you've been talking about? Does that elevate it somehow?
Donald Trump, he's a brittle man, incredibly fragile. And that weakness of insecurity has created a great deal of rage. I am a mayor, but I'm also a Christian. I pray for Donald Trump. His soul, he's lost. And that's why it's important that we help find a way to protect our democracy and our humanity. That's what I'm motivated by. Not some brittle, insecure human being who has expressed a degree of lawlessness that would make Vladimir Putin blush. We're built different in Chicago. We're built different. And this struggle has not been easy. But anything worth fighting for is worth struggling for. And that's what this moment is calling for.
Absolutely. That's what this moment is calling for. And I applaud Mayor Johnson for not holding back, but restraining himself. There's a couple other clips that I have that I'll try to share with you this week where the mayor is not pulling punches. But he also recognizes that he has to maintain a certain amount of respect and dignity in his commentary. Okay, so we are built differently here in Chicago, and people from all over the world are seeing that right now. And what does that look like? It looks like the fight that you see. Some people there are a lot of people that are out in the streets protesting, pushing back, calling out ICE, etc., as they should, as we should, because this is not necessary right now. We know it's not necessary. And Donald Trump is exactly as Mayor Johnson said. He's a brittle, sad man, if we want to talk about that part of it. He is just that. He's taking a wrecking ball to the country that we love. And as much as I enjoyed being in Canada, I loved coming back to the United States of America. I'm going to fight like hell, and I'm going to punch a few people in the mouth. Not literally, but in terms of things that I say about what I believe. And if you can't handle it, then look in the mirror. We have to fight right now, y'all. And I know that a lot of people may have criticisms, observations, this, that, and the other about structural things that need to happen. I know there's some folks out there that are talking about We need to do this. Listen, the number one thing we need to do is pull our chins up and fight. If you want this thing. If you don't, then just go sit in the corner and let other folks come to the front of the room and be ready to fight. Seriously. No disrespect to anybody. If you don't think that that's your thing right now and you want to go off some other tangent about we should be fine. The number one thing we have to do is fight. We have to fight in the moment that you're in. And one of the things that I observed, Henry, while I was gone, is in the terms of the news clips that I got, is that people all over the world are fighting for their ability to maintain where they are. They're fighting in Canada too, y'all. They are. Just FYI. They're fighting for their democracy, their state in life. But here's the interesting thing. A lot of the Canadians are fighting for us too. That's what tripped me out, man. It's one thing to get the clips that we see on the news, but it's another thing to be there and have Canadians tell us. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I went into a store, place of business, restaurant, whatever it was, information center, and they would ask, where are you from? And I tell them from Chicago. Not one person, y'all, had anything negative to say about Chicago or the greater U.S. They heard I was from Chicago. I said it with pride from the back of my throat and the bottom of my shoes that we're from Chicago. And not one person, not one, had anything negative to say. They were all proud of what we're doing here in Chicago because we are, as Mayor Johnson said, built differently. And if you've come to Chicago and you're from someplace else and you've come to Chicago and you've been those positive voices about how much you love the city, you're built differently too because you were willing to take on being a part of Chicago. So I give you your shout outs as well. But people are fighting all over the world right now to push back on these craven, old, brittle, broken, bent, feckless, candidly, white guys who think they should be running narrow-minded, racist, sexist white guys. So somebody who's get their undies in a bundle, that I said all white guys. I didn't say that. We're fighting against that. We just are. We're fighting against those people who are racist, sexist, misogynistic, nationalistic, privileged folk. And the Canadians are doing it too. But what was so cool, Henry, is they were proud. They were cool talking to this guy who was proud to be from Chicago. Now, here's the funny thing. Here's the thing that just really made me chuckle. A couple of times when I heard some stupid statements or had a wacky kind of encounter, guess who it was from? An American. I'm not lying. Okay? The 2 or 3 times where there was something stupid said in a restaurant or at some place, a attraction or whatever, it came from an American. An American stupidity, arrogance, and privilege. That's what it was. And it just made me like, wow. And we could almost, and then, you know, where we were, the French language is spoken heavily. And it was, it changed as we went from different cities, but it was predominant and dominant in a greater part of the trip. So that was also cool and fun and challenging to work our way around a different language than just the English language. But by and large, the people that had something to say, that the couple times where there was something stupid, it came from an American. So what I'm saying is this. It's not about Americans bad. It's about we have to raise our level of being proud and standing up for what we believe in and letting it be known, like Mayor Johnson said, we're built differently here in Chicago. And there's other cities that are blue cities that are built differently. Philly's built differently. New York's built differently. L.A., San Francisco are built differently. D.C.'s built differently. And I don't want to leave anybody out. Houston, we met a couple from Houston. Black couple from Houston. They're built differently, and you can tell. So, be proud of our country, but also we have to hold our country accountable for what's happening right now. We have to be willing to fight. And the will to fight then has to be backed up with, now let's just get in the fight. And the people who were out protesting this weekend and dealing with ICE, you know, I don't know you, but I got your back. We support your efforts and we support what you are trying to do. So big kudos to you guys. Henry, let's grab a couple quick calls because I know we're going to be busy at the bottom of the hour. Let's go to Roosevelt real quickly. Roosevelt, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Richard. Thank you for taking my call. Welcome back yourself.
Thank you.
Just a quick one here. You have the talk's going to be today, obviously, about Netanyahu and Trump and all this stuff. But I don't think anything changes where it comes to the crimes against humanity for the way Netanyahu conducted himself. And I believe the way I see it is self-survival in his country for all the corruption that he was a part of in his own country. And this guy, Trump, is going to take all the credit for everything that's happening. But how do you see it?
Well, this is going to sound, I don't know how this is going to sound, so I'll just answer your question. First of all, I want the hostages to be released. I want the bombing and killing of babies and old folks to stop. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. I've wanted that to stop since the very beginning, and that hasn't changed. You know how Eric Grant and I roll when it comes to this conversation. We want that to stop. And I know people want to go both ways and all that garbage, but at the end of the day, Israel's government and army has been heavy-handed, too heavy-handed. I'll say that. Hamas got to go away. They got to be taken care of. We know that. I'm not an expert in this space, so I try not to get too deep. We want that crisis to end. Hostages to be returned and for there to be to take the temperature down. Now, as it relates to Netanyahu and Trump, both they are two peas of the same pod. I don't trust them. I don't believe in them. I have no faith in them. I don't care about them. I care about the people who are on the ground that are being impacted in terms of the citizens of those two countries, those two regions, those two areas, depending on how people look at it. That's all I care about, Roosevelt. I could give a damn about Trump and Netanyahu in this. And if old boy gets the Nobel Peace Prize because of this, we can't stop that. What we can fix is making sure we get our behinds out to every single local election, regional, state, and national elections as we go forward and get this punk out of office. That's our responsibility. We can't fix that whole Nobel Prize thing and whatever. We can't fix that. What we can fix is getting this punk out of office. And hopefully the people of Israel, the stronger minds, will get rid of Netanyahu as well. That's how I look at it. I know that may be oversimplistic, but it keeps my temperature down on talking about them. And I don't disagree with you, though. So let me be clear about that as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Roosevelt.
Thank you very much.
All right, man. Have a great day. Good to hear your voice. Let's see if we can grab, is it Jan? Let's see if we can grab Jan real quickly before we go to break. Jan, good morning. You calling from California?
Yes, I am. I happen to be up. I'm a trader, one of the things that I do for an income, so it just goes with the theme. But, yeah, great to hear your voice and that you're back okay, that you guys had a great time.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. I'm probably one of the few people that listen to the show that really is an expat. I've lived overseas, not just because I was military at the time for being a kid of a Air Force veteran, but also on my own. I happen to live briefly in Australia, and you can't read about it in a book. You really got to be there to witness the monsoon season where you see all those thousands of white parrots flying through the sky and singing out and getting in the back of the yard, pecking at the almond tree, and other animals that you don't get to experience that are not dogs and cats by which to enjoy the trip.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's always nice to travel when you can, and that's why I said that in the most respectful way in terms of getting out of what's normal in terms of where you live and what you do to go to someplace other. It could be different, like I said, a different route home or to work or whatever you do, one does. But if you can travel, and if you can travel outside of the United States, that's been my takeaway, and I'm blessed and thankful to have been able to do that. And it sounds like you've had some similar experiences, Jan.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah,
you
thank you.
calling and waking up super early in California. But my goodness, I understand why you do. I get the time difference and what plays into that when you're in the trading business. So the market's open a little bit earlier. See, I hear you, girl. I hear you. Well, thank you, Jan, for calling. Thanks for your contribution to the show. We appreciate you.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye. Have a great day. That's pretty cool. No, Jan, she's right. You got to see it. You got to experience it and get out there. Couple quick shout-outs before we hit this break. Marathon, Chicago. Once again, we're built differently. Kudos to all the runners. Kudos to all the volunteers. Kudos to all the sponsors. And kudos to the city of Chicago for making it a great event and making those neighborhoods sing and chatter and ring bells and all those things. It was just awesome. Yet again, this is a global event, y'all. This ain't a local event. This is a global event. 55,000 runners from all over this world that we live in. So kudos to the whole process. I'm just proud of our city. I'm proud of all the folks that were part of making it happen. So let's take a quick break. Henry, the number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Remember when they used to ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? At Bank of America, we ask every day, what would you like the power to do? When you work here, you help build businesses, inspire communities, and forge legacies. And now we've raised our U.S. minimum wage to $25 an hour. So the opportunity to do more also comes with competitive pay. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/25. Bank of America, proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Sponsored by Armstrong Pharmaceuticals.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers possible late today with partial sunshine developing and a high in the low 70s. Winds out of the southeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, a low near 57. By Tuesday, mostly sunny, high of 71 degrees. And Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, a high of 65. Thursday, partial sunshine, high of 70. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Great to have you with us this morning. And again, shout outs to the city of Chicago and the region, frankly, for all the great work that was put in to get this wonderful global event. Once again, through the streets of the city of Chicago, it was awesome to see. And they go right by our house, Henry. So it's a big deal. They got a bunch of folks and whatnot out, and it's awesome to see. And we've been so fortunate to have it come right through our neighborhood. Today, we've got some wonderful guests with us, and I'm excited to talk about this first guest today. I first kind of heard this name about a decade ago, and I probably was a little bit late to the party. But it was because of a visit that I had to the African American Museum, not the one that everybody knows about, but the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C. And there's a book that she wrote called The Voting Rights War, the NAACP and the Ongoing Struggle for Justice. Professor, writer, activist, playwright, radio host, and author of several books, including the most recent release, A Protest History of the United States. And that would be the professor and wonderful voice that we have with us, Gloria Browne-Marshall. Good morning, Gloria, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, and thank you for such a wonderful introduction.
Man, you earned that. I'm talking that, It's great to have you with us this morning, Gloria. I mean, like I said a moment ago, I was a little late to the party. I'm not going to lie. That's the beauty of pushing ourselves into learning something new and finding out about new people and new voices. But my wife and I were at the African American Civil War Museum. And, as I love museums, I love bookstores, I love the gift shop when I go traveling, because that's where you find a lot of the things that you didn't know were out there in terms of information, whether it be books, whether it be magazines, articles, and all the rest. And I remember seeing your book, The Voting Rights War, and I didn't purchase it, but I remember thinking that's something that not enough people are talking about. But you got a new recent release in this kind of in the same vein, A Protest History of the United States. Tell us a little bit about this most recent work.
Well, those voting rights martyrs and others were part of the process of us getting people of color, in particular African Americans, getting and protecting the right to vote. We still feel it's under danger and attack right now. However, that protest was just one part of, hundreds of years of protests for our rights that everyone participated in some way, shape, or form. And so this is over 500 years, starting with the indigenous protests. And this being Indigenous Day, it's very important for us to understand that they're the original protesters. And I expand protests from just the protests in the streets, which is important, and I raise people up who do that, but to the protests of, say, slave uprisings, all the way to joining unions. People who joined a union, that meant that they were protesting the job conditions they had, wanting more money, et cetera. And then to women's rights, the anti-war protests, to climate change protests. So not only protesting against, but protesting for. What do we want to have and see in our communities? The protests around officer-related assaults on civilians, all the way up to regentification protests, certain types of regentification. So when you start thinking about the rights we have today, especially in Chicago, because Chicago plays such an important role. For example, Haymarket and the Haymarket protests were the ones that, eventually gave us the 8-hour work day, because people assume that it's already been there, but it wasn't. It was signed into law in 1800s, but it didn't become a practice until the 1900s. So many things we wake up with every day, we are sheathed in the benefits of protest, but people forget somebody had to give up their time, money, and energy to protest for us to have those rights. And that's what this book, A Protest History of the United States, is setting out. Not all protests over 500 years, but but many of them.
Well, I said at the top of the show, and I say this often, Gloria, that we have to pull our chins up and our shoulders back and fight. And you just broke down a couple of different groups that have always not only fought but had to fight. And in that fight, made something better for maybe not someone that was necessarily part of that group or that protest, but it was one of those dominoes that allowed us to get to the next thing that we were going to have to fight for and change. So this is what's so amazing about the work that you've done in terms of the recent protest history. But also, as you sort of broke down what so many different groups have done over the years, it has been a domino effect. Without this, there wouldn't have been that. And, I guess it's a human condition, Gloria, that people have short memories and forget that this didn't happen just because you woke up one morning on the proper side of the bed. It happened because some folks decided that they had enough, and they were going to get out there and they were going to fight for the thing that was important to not just them, but to other people around them. Talk a little bit about your experience in talking with people who may not have known that certain things are here because of a protest that took place a decade ago or a couple of decades ago.
And as well as like over 100 years ago.
Right.
The example of the 8-hour workday and the 40-hour work week. That didn't fall out of the sky. Santa Claus didn't give us what we see as a reality that we have every day. And here's the reason why I say it's reality as opposed to just having the law. So the Constitution was signed and ratified, signed in 1787, ratified 1789. The Bill of Rights ratified in 1791. That's all well and good. Those are words on paper. But what gave us the freedom of speech was actually testing if we had freedom of speech. And that test comes most often when there's a conflict between what people are given and what it is they see themselves having or needing or wanting. And so that's when you have people start standing up. So as early as the late 1700s, you started seeing federal laws being enacted to suppress protests. Now, the Declaration of Independence is a protest document. We're going to be commemorating 250 years of the Declaration of Independence next year, 2026. But we have to understand it's a protest document. Those protesters against King George turned around and started to suppress protest. It happened so fast that they forgot that they were protesters at one time. And then they sit out the status quo. Then people come in and say, but I want more than what you've given me, more than crumbs from the table. And then they start to push back. They become protesters. And it goes on and on like that. It just seems like each generation decides how much somebody else should have. They say, okay, this is a point of no return. Stop right here. And anybody who pushes against that, this is another thing that comes. They get charged with, being these people who are malcontents. They get called horrible names. They get arrested. They get assaulted. Some people's lives are taken, even for this protest. Lives were taken to get the 8-hour workday. And so when we have people who are members of unions, and I like to always remind our people in law enforcement and others who are listening, that to get that union, people had to fight and die for you to have that union. It didn't fall out of the sky. Santa Claus didn't give it to you. And although we had the right to form a union, and the coal miners, I went to West Virginia to study more about the coal miners and the fights that they had to get a union. We've forgotten so much of this. Mother Jones, who spent much of her time out of Chicago, was a big rabble rouser, and her voice was like so firm, so strong. She was like a little tiny white woman. And so we have to realize there was unusual people who came out of the fight for us to get our rights, who were protesters. If you think how small and timid Rosa Parks looked on the outside, but when she refused to give up her seat, that was another form of protest. So whether or not people march in the street or decide not to buy someplace or join an organization, there are so many different ways in which people can use their right to protest.
And it's interesting, and thank you for that, Gloria. Some of those names just, made me smile in terms of we forget about, and it is, I don't know why we do. I think this is one of the dangers. I don't think I know. It's one of the dangers of what this administration is doing, not trying to do, but doing to education and to history and historical recognitions. Because in every one of those cases, I would say, and I'm sure you would see some commonality here, a protestor led to a significant amount of change, but it was incremental. It started right there in that particular person's neighborhood, and then it expanded and expanded. But we forget about it, and this administration and others that are part of supporting this regime don't want people to know about it, know about the protests, know about our history, the good, the bad, and everything in the middle. Because when people really stop and look at what happened and how something got to be, and I love your phrase, it didn't fall out of the sky and it wasn't delivered by Santa Claus, then they realize, well, wait a minute, we've always been fighting for our betterment. And that's one of my concerns about what's happening in the current administration's desire to push away history. What are your thoughts there?
It's so true. And to say that, Indigenous Day, that the Indigenous people were not mistreated because we don't want to know that our ancestors mistreated them. To say that African Americans were not enslaved, and what are the good parts of slavery? It's like, that's like saying, what are the good parts of 9/11? You have to think about how this is being couched in a way. Once again, how dare you say something negative about the people who have given you the crumbs from the table? And even if you've risen to these major heights of the middle class, If you go back, you'll find union workers were part of making that middle class, progress happen. And that union was something people had to fight to become a part of and continue to fight to get those wages. And we need to understand that women's rights were not just given to women by men who said, oh, yes, I'm tired of women not having the right to vote. Here, take this right to vote. I mean, women protested for decades in order to get the right to vote, and then protested for decades to have more than their rights. If you think about in the 1970s, in many places in this country, women couldn't have a credit card in their own name. They couldn't buy a house in their own name. There is so much that's happened that we just wake up today and think that it's always been that way. And maybe it's because people, get tired of hearing about the battle and they just want to enjoy the benefits.
And I get that part, that last sentence. You and we've been here for a little bit of time in life, and you want everybody to be able to live their lives and wake up in the morning and feel joyous and be able to go forward and not have to have this weight on them. So when people do sort of shut it off and go, I just can't deal with this right now, or I don't want to talk about this or hear about this, I intellectually and emotionally get that. And I know that you do too, Gloria. However, the fact that we've had to fight for the things, for those moments, those glorious moments of being able to feel that way is what, I don't want us to lose that. I want us to take that back and take the fight back and take the activism and work back, because without it, we lose those things that allow us to have those moments of joy and be able to appreciate life a little bit better, don't you think?
I think, and one of the reasons why I wrote this book is because at first I kept hearing people saying, oh, protest doesn't work. It's no longer effective. It's old fashioned. It went out with the civil rights movement. And what I wanted people to see was there are so many ways in which people had to protest. So if one didn't go out in the street with a sign, which is what we see now in the 21st century, there were protests in which I like to say, and I quote Nina Simone, this might be wrong, it might be somebody else who said it, but people need to give their money where they're being respected. Or as Nina Simone said, they need to learn to leave the table when love is no longer being served.
That's right.
And so if you're not being respected at that particular corporation or business or, restaurant or wherever, then don't give them your money. And that's a form of protest. Joining organizations so you can be with other people so you don't feel so alone. A lot of people are frustrated under this regime because they feel that they have no voice and all the power is rested with people with lots and lots of money. But if you keep in mind, most of the protesters didn't have a lot of money. Our ancestors, when they moved from one place to another to protest the way they were treated in another country to come here in the first place, that's an act of protest. So many people, most people, are, around us are descendants of people who protested by leaving other countries for religious reasons, for other reasons, economic reasons. So we need to understand that protests took many forms and we're benefiting from that. And there are too many freedom freeloaders. And that's what I call them, freedom freeloaders, because they want the freedoms, they want the benefits of the protests that people did, but they don't want to do anything themselves. And that's where we're kind of stuck. They want to complain and moan and emote. And what we're starting to see is people say, okay, I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to put it in a protest because it allows me to feel like I am doing something and not just feeling victimized.
That's such a great point. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 here in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We are talking to I just so many labels, but a person that's got her thumb on the pulse. Gloria Browne-Marshall, wonderful new book that's out. I want to read this real quickly, Gloria, if you don't mind. We've talked about the book a little bit, but here are some. I'm a contents guy of a book. I love looking at the contents of a book and then saying, okay, this is where I want to start. I don't always start reading books at the beginning. I know that's kind of goofy, but the introduction, our conflicted protest history, chapters real quickly, indigenous defensive land, life and culture, what to the slave is the 4th of July, labor rights and union strikes, anti-war marches and conscientious objectors, rebellions in the 20th century, her body, her ballot, her protest, protesting violent policing, protesting violent policing, contesting climate denial and environmental racism. These are some powerful chapters, guys. You should get a copy of the book, which is A Protest History of the United States by Gloria Browne-Marshall. Great chapters. And I think I get what some of your motivation was. And you said it a little bit in the last bit about folks kind of resting on their laurels and not recognizing the fight that so many other people have put in. But you've been fighting for a while. And I want to ask you a question about your time at the NAACP as assistant counsel. What was that like? What was because that's an organization that when you hear the name, it is all about fighting. It is all about protesting and taking on issues. But what was it like during your tenure there?
Well, it was very tumultuous for me personally and professionally, because I think the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, which is separate from the NAACP, they broke off and formed their two unique organizations, because I still want, I came from a time period in which the lawyers went into the communities. I know it sounds very strange. I always see our commercials on television, but there was a time in which lawyers were there on the pulse of the community to know what was going on. And the lawsuits came from the people in the communities. And we as lawyers went into the community to explain the law. And that's what's being missed here. One of the things I did when I was at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, I worked on education discrimination cases. And that's why it hurts me so much to see the Department of Education in this turmoil. But I think people in law, when we went to law school, we had bigger ideas and ideals around what it meant to be an attorney. And I think now so many of these major law firms capitulating is heartbreaking, to have these people who have so much knowledge, and even though we take lawyers for granted, and this is the most litigious nation in the world, more lawyers, more cases, more courts than any other country, we're not explaining the law to people. We're not helping them to understand what their protest rights are, for example, because when I was with the Legal Defense Fund, I wanted people to understand their rights, and that empowered them. And that's what I wanted this book, A Protest History of the United States, to do. I wanted people to read it and understand, yes, we're talking about what happened 500 years ago, but we're also talking about people trying to form unions at Amazon. We're going all the way up in time period for us to understand George Floyd. And people believe that, oh, nothing came of that. Yes, a lot came of the protests around George Floyd, because protest is also strategic, and it's a tactic. It's a use in which people can use their voices and their economic protest monies and other ways to actually get policies changed or laws repealed. And that's what happened during George Floyd. Going back to the initial comment about people forget what came out of George Floyd's protests. That happened, it seems like 1,000 years ago, but it wasn't. That's how quickly the mind shuts off and we move on to something else. So it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I would really encourage people in the law, whether or not you're a paralegal or a lawyer, to try to go in the communities to help people better understand their rights, to be there for the protesters, because there are a lot of protesters, once they get arrested, they have no lawyers. So that's another way a lawyer can participate in the protest without being in the protest themselves, is to be there available to protesters to help get them out of jail, to go to the communities and help them understand their rights. And for people who want to be a part of the protest, but they don't want to go out into the streets, then start a bond fund so that there's money available for people once they've gotten arrested. There are so many ways in which people can help. Write a letter to the editor. Keep reminding people that protest is also about disruption. So sit-ins, teach-ins, teach people about the issues. That's a part of protest. We learned that from the anti-Vietnam War protests, and know that people are persuaded who are outside of your protest. It's not just about the people who are in your protest. You're supposed to be messaging and communicating to people outside of your protest to help them better understand your issues. So protests, I've found, are much more complex than people think they are. They think, as you pointed out, they protest on Friday, change happens on Monday. And that's not the way protesters works in this country, but it still remains very effective.
Wow. Gloria, I've said this to so many guests. I take notes. I'm a note-taking dude. I have been since, forever. I just put my pen down at some point and just listen so that I don't have to think about what I'm writing, but I can listen to what you're just saying. And that was a master class in what protesting can and should look like, and how people can be. The bandwidth of protesting is a lot, and I love what you said, that not everybody has the capacity, and that's not a negative word, to go out, to physically go out and protest. But there's so many other things that people can be doing. The bond fund is particularly one. I did make that note that I think is going to become more and more important with the protests that we have right now here in Chicago and other cities when it comes to ICE, but a variety of other things that may be coming our way under this current federal administration. How does as best you can share with us, how does a bond fund work? And what are some of the quick bullet points of how someone can start one?
Well, first you get a trusted person. That's important. And you basically set up an account. And, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but $20 here and $50 there. The same way we get asked for money all the time from all of these organizations. You find that trusted person. They have money and they keep the money to the side. The bond fund person is not the same person at the protest, because having your bond fund person in the cell next to you is not going to be a good thing. And when you also have telephone numbers of people that you would call, and you put those numbers on markers, use a marker on your forearm or on your clothes. You will not have your phone with you if somebody actually detains you. Most of the time when they take you in, they're not going to let you keep your phone. Mm-hmm. And so that means that you're going to have that number to call. You put it on something that you will be on your body or your clothes, and then you call that person, and that person has the money to bail you out. And so those very basic things, but I go back to the lawyers and I go back to other people who can be in positions to help. You don't have to be the person in the street. You can be the person who can help. So a protest history of the United States is there to empower, to help you see the different ways in which all of these rights that we have today have been gained, not because someone wrote a law about it. That's one thing. But the law is just words on paper if we don't have protesters making it a reality.
Wow. One of the things, one of our listeners sent me a message saying, when people of modest means feel that they don't have a voice, remind them, and this is so well put, remind them of the Disney and ABC reinstating Jimmy Kimmel. And that was because people protested, and they weren't out. I mean, there were people that were out in front of the studios and all that, but the reality is it was the electronic protesting, if you will, that really, I think, had a major impact on that situation. So there's another example of being in the fight. It doesn't always mean that you're literally, in front of the building or the place where something occurred, but just being armed with the desire to help foster change. And that's what a protest history of the United States is really all about. Gloria, wow. I'll put this out here as my standard invitation. We can't wait to have you back on the show, and because you've been phenomenal. It's just been great talking with you this morning.
Thank you so much. And I just want to remind people that you can also write letters to the elected officials and write letters to corporate people. Corporate people have addresses too. We rarely think about writing letters, not emails. They can be dismissed. Letters, postcards, etc. Anybody, no matter the age, can be a part of the protest. And that's what I think your show, just having me on, just is such a platform for people to understand that they're not alone. Thank you so much, and power to the people.
Gloria, how can folks find you? How can they follow you? Just give folks this real quick as we wrap up.
I'm on Instagram, Gloria Browne-Marshall. That's Brown with an E, Marshall with 2 L's, G, Browne-Marshall. And I'm on a book tour right now, but also get my book. And next year, the 2026, I look forward to talking about 250 years of protest. That's my theme for 2026. So have me come by and give a talk about protest history. And hopefully you too can be one of those people making a difference.
Absolutely. Gloria Browne-Marshall, thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate you and all the work you do. We will have you back sooner than you think. So have a great day, Gloria. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, quick break, 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. Captain Hugh Mulzack's love for the sea started after he finished high school, as he served the British Sooners and in 1918 immigrated to the United States. Within 2 years of joining the Marines, Mulzack earned his shipping master certificate, the first African American to do so. In 1921, Mulzack was promoted to the rank of captain. In 1942, the SS Booker T. Washington, the first ship to be named after an African American, was created, and Mulzack was offered the position of captain, but he turned it down at first as the Marines did not want to have an integrated crew. Mulzack stood firm on his beliefs, stating, "Under no circumstances will I command a Jim Crow," and Mulzack became the first African American captain of the first ever integrated crew. Under Captain Mulzack, over 18,000 troops were sent to the European war front, and ships carrying tanks, aircrafts, and ammunition to United States troops in World War II. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Save big money at Menards and stock up on your favorite Procter & Gamble products. We carry quality products from brands you can trust, like Dawn, Tide, Bounty, and more. Right now, get a $10 instant savings on a single qualifying purchase of $40 or more on Procter & Gamble products. Now through October 19th, head to Menards to get a great deal on qualifying Procter & Gamble products. Plus, view the weekly flyer for other great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Progressive presents a testimonial of sorts.
Hey, slow down!
Oh, yeah? Well, you drive like my grandma. She's a very attentive and courteous driver who wears a seatbelt and always uses her turn signals. She's also a talented painter and has very low cholesterol. Not that that has anything to do with her drive. We just thought a more complete picture of who she is might be interesting. Anyway, have a nice day.
Safe driver? Get Snapshot from Progressive and get a personalized rate based on how you drive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
You've still got it. Your immune system weakens as you age, making it hard to fight the flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Hamas released all 20 of the last living hostages today, while buses carrying dozens of freed Palestinian prisoners drove to the West Bank city of Ramallah and the Gaza Strip. Israel is freeing more than 1,900 prisoners as part of the ceasefire deal. Addressing the Israeli parliament, President Trump says this is the start of a new Middle East.
After so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace, a land and a region that will live, God willing, in peace for all eternity.
His remarks were briefly interrupted when two members of the Israeli parliament staged a protest. As they were being escorted out, one held up a small sign saying genocide. Other members of the Knesset chanted Trump's name. Trump will also be visiting Egypt for more talks on the U.S. proposed deal and post-war plans. And Trump says he could send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine if Russia does not end its war there soon. Russian officials expressed extreme concern about that statement. And 3 researchers have won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics. The announcement was made by Hans Ellegren, the Secretary General of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences,
for having explained innovation-driven economic growth.
And a nor'easter made its way up the East Coast yesterday, washing out roads and causing flight delays. Meanwhile, in western Alaska, the remnants of a typhoon brought hurricane-force winds and massive coastal floods. Authorities say up to 20 people could be unaccounted for. And Diane Keaton, the Oscar-winning star of Annie Hall and The Godfather films, has died at the age of 79. More information at apnews.com. This is AP News. The NFL's top quarterback has broken another passing record.
Patrick Mahomes has joined the 300 club.
It's extremely cool. I mean, I've been blessed.
Mahomes now has 302 career touchdown passes, including the postseason, becoming the quickest player in NFL history to reach the 300 mark after a 3-TD day in the Chiefs' 30-17 win over the Lions. He accomplished the feat in 139 games, 8 faster than Aaron Rodgers.
I've been blessed. I got drafted here in Kansas City, a great community, great ownership, and then getting one of the best football coaches of all time and some of the greatest players of all time around me. And so it makes my job a lot easier.
It came to the delight of a Kansas City crowd that included Taylor Swift, the fiance of tight end Travis Kelce, and WNBA star Caitlin Clark.
Let's continue it. Let's have some fun, and we've got a long career ahead, and we'll see how many we can get to.
I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers possible late today with partial sunshine developing and a high in the low 70s. Winds out of the southeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, a low near 57. By Tuesday, mostly sunny, high of 71 degrees. And Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, a high of 65. Thursday, partial sunshine, high of 70. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 55.
Remember when they used to ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? At Bank of America, we ask every day, what would you like the power to do? When you work here, you help build businesses, inspire communities, and forge legacies. And now we've raised our U.S. minimum wage to $25 an hour. So the opportunity to do more also comes with competitive pay. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/25. Bank of America, proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito, we'll be talking to Lisa Stark, former ABC News reporter, who recently penned a letter to Disney CEO Bob Iger, calling on him to defend free press and protect ABC journalists from political pressure. Also joining Joan will be former Illinois Lieutenant Governor under Jim Edgar, Bob Kustra. Live, Local, and Progressive, that's Joan Esposito today, weekdays, of course, 2 to 5, Central, WCPT, AM 820, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Axios Chicago's Justin Kaufman and Nancy Economo, founder of What's of Love. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays, 5 to 7 p.m. here on WCPT, the Heartland Signal website. Tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. And as I said, tomorrow on Choose Views, Mayor of Aurora, John Laish. Amy McGrath will be with us again. Looking forward to talking with Amy, political and national security analyst, former fighter pilot, U.S. Army, she's going to get me for that, U.S. Marine Corps, combat veteran, and 2020 Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate in Kentucky. Author of Honor Bound, An American Story of Dreams and Service. So looking forward to having her with us tomorrow. And also co-host of the podcast, Truth in a Barrel. So it'll be fun to have Amy chatting with us tomorrow. But right now, one of our other favorites who writes and talks and speaks and just keeps people plugged in every single day of the week is our good friend Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA. Good morning, Sarah, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard, and good morning to all of your listeners. As we navigate our way through this, I don't know if I can say this on the radio, but anyway, it's not a pleasant scape out there, put it that way.
The hellscape, you mean? Is that what you're going to say?
Yes. I just didn't want to get you in any trouble, so I thought I better pull back.
So you wanted to come to me for the assist? That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You read my mind.
No, you're absolutely right. This is a hellscape, and you know the guest we had on just a moment ago, Gloria, was talking about the importance of protest and protesting and the history of it and how it's done in very micro ways, but to a bigger end. And I think right now, with all that's happening here in Chicago, but in Portland and other cities, protesting is something that has to be part of what we're doing in whatever capacity it is, because the hellscape that's going on that we're in is crazy. It just is.
And I heard what she said about the digital protest sort of, or I think that might have been how you summed it up. But I was writing about that actually, and I completely agree with that. And I think it's a way that people underestimate their own power, which is that really what is wrong with this country is that corporatism has been unregulated for decades, and so it has now become a sort of almost a parody of itself, and is all we're seeing is the corrupt version of that. That's why we have Citizens United and the various other ways that money is involved and corporate money is involved in our elections and all of that. But the other side of that is that corporations run this country and they need your money. They need your money. So every time you buy something from a corporation, you are helping them destroy this country.
Yeah.
They rely on us to keep making their profits. They have to answer to these shareholders and the way that all of that is designed now, so that it is they have to keep maximizing profits and making more profits, and they have to explain themselves when they don't do that. And you have the power to put them in a very awkward position. And I'm not saying you never buy anything, but it's just about being very careful about where you, instead of we don't have to be out in the streets. If that's not the right place for us to protest, we can do it this way.
Yeah. Sarah, one of the things that I can go back probably 15 years, if not longer, is when I started to do a little bit of digging into the Coke Industries and Coke family. Koch brothers. Yeah. And I was like, wow, let me do some more digging. And then I found out, saw the laundry list. And this was probably 15, 18 years ago, the laundry list of companies that they are that are under their umbrella. And so when you talk about corporations running and corporations having such an impact on what we do day to day, I'm in full agreement with you that we don't have to stop buying things. We can't, because we're a consumer-driven economy. I just think that you redirect where you spend your money. If you're not, there's a very quick list of businesses that I won't go to or use any longer, because I know where they stand on some issues that may not be directly related to me, but they are issues that in a society of civil rights and humanity, they matter to people that I care about. So I don't spend my money with a certain number of places. And I think more of us from a protest standpoint can do that. And it does require folks to, it's not hard, but do a little bit of research. There's companies that you shouldn't do business with. And if you don't know, then do the research and find out. That can be your way of protesting. That can be your way of pushing back on corporations that are doing things that are not only harmful to everyday people, but harmful to our environment, and the list goes on.
And after you've done that research, share it with your friends, your family, share it online. Put it to your social media. There's so many ways that people at home can be a part of this and share with other people. This is what this corporation is doing. And it was so interesting that you brought up the Koch brothers, because way back when we started this website, I had a list of, and I called it the Coke block, if you know what I'm saying, because when you look at their name, it can be read a different way, list. And it was all of the different products that they sell, and to let people know, these people are attacking our democracy. This is how you can know what you're buying and make choices. So I think all of this, I have a lot of places. For me, I've been looking at, the failure of the media, and how when you step back and look at what's going on in the country right now, and we have to understand that the right, their vision, their philosophy, if you will, that they are trying to implement, that the media won't discuss. The media acts like they don't know this, but they know all of this. Not only was it in Project 2025, but then they also had this philosophy that really the tech oligarchs have been following for the last decade, which is to install a CEO king who is not checked by any kind of we wouldn't have Congress checking them. It wouldn't be the three branches of government. It would just be the CEO king, and that person would be someone who was run by, like, for example, they suggested at the time, Elon Musk. So we did see that happen. You know, we saw that play out already, and that is their vision for the country. And when you think about that, and you look at all the media companies globally that are run by the tech oligarchs now, and especially here in this country, you know, the Washington Post, I could go on and on, but if you look at the ownership of all these companies, you will see now why they are reporting the way they are and what the goal is in the long term. And so what I do for myself, I have to read a lot of these places for my job, but I used to subscribe to all these streaming, and now I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pay you to ruin this country. You know, I can't stop you from ruining the country, but I can be not help you do it.
Well, that's a form of protesting, like Gloria said. Right. That right there. I mean, one of the I've got a couple of text messages that have hit me since you've been on, Sarah. And one of them is a simple thing that comes from one of our good listeners and good friends, Kurt Herner in Ohio. He says a simple thing: rather than ordering pizza from Domino's, Papa John's, and Pizza Hut, order from a local mom and pop pizzeria. Absolutely. Typically, and I want to make an assumptive statement here, that local business is going to probably be center left. More than likely. I mean, there's people that could argue, say, no, Richard, they might be center right. Okay, whatever the case may be, if it's ordering from a big chain or from a small local business, I think we all now have to take a certain amount of responsibility. And to the best of our ability, if it's a publicly traded corporation or one that's got a lot of information that you can search on them, like Koch Industries, we should know who we're doing business with, because then we have a better sense of how we're going to spend our money, how we're going to spend our resources, who we're going to protest against, whether it be on a massive scale or something as simple as you just said, and that is cutting back on the number of streaming services and which ones you use, so that we aren't allowing them to continue to destroy the thing that we so much love, and that's our country.
And how much power we have. Everything that's wrong with this country is
Disney and Kimmel
back to the corporate case. Exactly.
That was that's the most recent example. Yeah.
That's exactly what I wrote about it when it happened. Was this is you. This is your power. Remember this, because in every action that is happening right now, it is all for the benefit of those corporations. If you make them pay, they will have to stop this.
Yeah.
And that is the end of there is no other story, because that is their goal. Their goal is more profit for themselves. Stop their profit, and you will stop this action.
Yeah, consolidation is a crazy. It's a thing that's happening right now that's making these times crazier, is what I want to try to say. The consolidation of corporations is a very dangerous thing, y'all, and we need to be right at the front of the line when it comes to how we're going to utilize whatever business, whatever service is offered, because the consolidation of them is what's making so much of this even crazier.
It's imposing harm. And to your point about the local businesses, and to your listener's point, which was a great point, where I live, for example, a lot of the local businesses are Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. But when I look at the damage they can inflict on the country versus the damage that will be inflicted on the country if I order from Amazon, I can do that math.
Yeah.
And I would rather give my money to the local Trump supporter. I don't like that, but it's better than the other option, because this person right now is not destroying the country.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I meant when I said it's a delicate one, because, you know, we typically would think that a small business would lean in a direction that's center left, but we know this, that many of them lean center right. But at the end of the day, the larger corporations are causing the most amount of I will say domestic and global harm because of their consolidation of resources, of wealth, and of access. Meanwhile, cutting out that small business that would ultimately be, you know, a performer in that community. So It's a slippery slope, but we still have to fight it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sarah.
No, I was the one interrupting you, but I'm so stunned, and I'm sure that many of your listeners share this. I continue to be stunned that small business owners support Republicans. It's like that's how Republicans sell everything that they're doing. And in fact, it's happening here. I live in this very little town, and the Republicans now are sending out via a super PAC for this itty bitty town for the town council.
Yeah.
They're sending out super PAC stuff, and they're talking about how we support small businesses in the economy. It's like, no, actually, the reason you're pushing these people right now is because the local council denied Dunkin' Donuts a spot downtown.
Yeah.
And you want them to have that spot. So you want to take away from the local bakery in town, which is really great, and give it to Dunkin' Donuts. And I'm not criticizing Dunkin' Donuts, but the point is, where is their loyalty? Their loyalty is not with small business, and we can see that with the ACA subsidies because of many small. In fact, I would say, if people don't remember this, but before Obamacare, you could not buy your own insurance as a small business owner without spending so much money. And a lot of times, if you had a pre-existing condition, you couldn't buy it at all.
Right.
And so that's what people don't realize. And I don't understand how small business owners, but it seems like people are so uneducated about what the ACA really is. But now they're getting the notices. The notices have started to come out. And I just hope that some people pull out a calculator and start doing math, and then let those little pieces in their brain start to connect. If they lied about this, then what else might they be lying about? And gee whiz, do I have $4,000 or, as we saw some of the math, like $26,000 extra for health insurance for a year? Do I have that? Is that a way?
I'm sorry, Sarah. That was a sermon from Pastor Sarah Jones this morning.
Yes, right.
on connecting the brain dots. Too funny.
Oh, God.
You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking to our good friend Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA. Sarah, listen, you've been posting nothing but great articles. And by the way, y'all, you need to get with Sarah's work, and it will inspire you, it will inform you, and most certainly it might take you off a little bit, not the work she's doing, but the content of what that is. And I'm going to hit you with three real quick ones. Mike Johnson and his refusal to open the House of Representatives, Donald Trump's revenge tour. And last but not least, how George Stephanopoulos just put J.D. Vance in his place, all but shutting off his mic when the lies started. Hit us real quickly with those three, in reverse order or whatever order you want to.
Well, I was really shocked with Stephanopoulos. I mean, he's always been good, but that was a great moment when J.D. Vance just started spouting propaganda and outright lies, and then he attacked Stephanopoulos, and he really tried to pull a Trump, and Stephanopoulos was like, okay, bye, that's exactly what needs to happen. Just do not stop airing the propaganda. We all know exactly what these people are going to say because they say the same stuff every time.
Yeah.
They blame a Democrat. They accuse the reporter or the journalist of being a far left radical, and then they outright lie. So he just pulled the plug, and that made the point to the viewer that has to be made over and over again, which is this is an unacceptable lie. This was an insult to you, and so we are unplugging this. So then to not seating, right, the way that the Speaker Johnson, what he's up to with not seating this representative is that he wants to change the discharge rule before he seats her, so that so none of the Republicans will vote for the ACA subsidies. Several of them, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, are hearing from their constituents. And what happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm sure a lot of you already know. She heard from her own family. Of course, it has to impact them personally.
Right. That's why I don't trust her. That's why I don't trust her.
Exactly. No, I don't trust her. First of all, I mean, the woman, she's always blaming other people for why she believes conspiracies, and she'll say, well, nobody told me. And I have never stopped. Like, the minute I read that, I thought, how could you trust this woman with anything? It's not our job to tell you not to believe a conspiracy. You're supposed to be doing that for your constituents. You're supposed to know how to, at least you have a whole staff to help you figure out what's real.
How could you not know? Right.
How could you not know? Of course you know. You didn't want to know, and you want to, like, spew this insane stuff. So anyway, you know, her family's been impacted by the subsidy increases, the huge subsidy increases that are coming. And so suddenly she is out there on TV, and I think she was again yesterday, saying that she supports these subsidies. And so basically, and that she's blaming her own party for this shutdown. Then she will never blame Trump, though, of course. You know, she always blames everyone around him. She doesn't blame him. She is the ultimate pick-me. She still thinks that Trump loves her, and it's just the people around him. He does this to everyone. This is how he plays people. And if any of the listeners have ever dealt with somebody in their real life who is just kind of manipulative the way Trump is, it's, you know, you recognize the triangulation. That's what he always does. But it's so sad to see people fall for it. And while I don't like what she stands for and I don't trust her, I do feel bad for her. Not bad enough to give her a free ticket, for sure, because she's harming people. But I feel bad because I could see what a fool she's making of herself, and how she's, you know, wasting what.
I mean, the people of her district elected her to go and do this all the time. She's only doing it, and we have a good friend that has been on our show, Sean Harris, and he's running again for that seat, and we'll probably have him on again in the next few weeks. But he talks about how the people in the district are disappointed and have been that she hasn't been doing the work, and she spent the majority of her time basically fanning her skirt at Donald Trump, and you know that right now is not working. So she realizes, for selfish reasons, and Mike Johnson knows this as well as all the other Republicans in the House, that her reasoning isn't because it makes sense, which she should have been dealing with when she first got elected in terms of protecting health care and benefits for her constituents. It's because her family members and her friends are coming to her and saying, yo, Marge, what's up with this ACA situation? We're getting harmed here. So I don't give her any credit for anything other than having the ability to go on television and talk about this rather than saying this all along. This is the same Marjorie Taylor Greene, y'all, that got up and yelled disrespectfully at more than one time at Joe Biden's State of the Union addresses when he was talking about these very things being beneficial to all Americans. So I don't trust her. She can go kick herself to the curb. Because
none of these people, like, let's focus in on what you just said for a minute, because I write this all the time and it's really important to me, and I wish that the left would really take up this mantle, because the right for so many years has been out there constantly pressuring their representatives and saying, you work for us, and I for years have been saying, the message that the left needed to be sending and the public to their representatives is do your job.
Yeah.
We pay you. You are supposed to represent us, not corporations, not Donald Trump. You get out there and do your job that we are paying you to do. And by the way, your health care isn't being taken away from you, and we are paying for that. How dare you vote against health care for the people when you have health care that is top-notch, that we are funding, while you don't even do your job? If any of us didn't show up to do our job, we would not have health care. You know, I mean, I own my own business, so I have to pay for my own health care. But, you know,
But if you didn't show up, and do the work, you wouldn't have the money to pay for the health care. So it's the same thing. You got to show up.
It's exactly the same thing. And I am not asking the public to fund my health care.
Nope.
I am doing a public service, being a journalist in this time when, you know, a lot of that work is not being done the way it should contextually be done. by mainstream media. But so to me, this is a public service. It certainly doesn't make money. And so we really need everyone's support. I can't tell you how important it is to support independent journalists right now. It does not pay money. We've all been driven out of business in terms of, websites. They've taken us out of all the algorithms. If you go do a Google search right now, what's going to come up for you is a summary that is all based on conservative news.
Yep.
And so people, please support your independent journalists. It's so important right now. It is the most important thing you can do, other than, protesting and voting.
And that's a form of that in and of itself, Sarah, is a form of protest, because it's by supporting your independent media, independent journalists, independent voices. What you are then doing is protesting against the big national or consolidated media and what they're doing. So it is a form of protest by supporting those who are doing the work that Sarah's been doing, and we so greatly appreciate. We never have enough time. We're going to fix that, guys. We're going to fix that. But today, Sarah, as always, it's great to have you on the show. Missed hearing your voice the last couple of weeks, but your articles and your work that you're posting are phenomenal, and we appreciate all that you're doing in this fight right now.
Oh, thank you so much, Richard. It's a pleasure to be on. And just really quickly, I want to tell people we're on PoliticusUSA, and also it's the Daily Politicus, the Daily with Sarah Jones. So if you Google any of those things, you can find us, and we'd love to have your support, whether that's just a free subscription or the paid subscription, which is very affordable. We would love to have your support either way. And
the feedback's important.
It is important, and that's one thing. One thing I want to do. We have the best the best commenters on our site, both of the Substacks. And I was just thinking the other day, because one of them said to me, I'd love to be able to talk to the rest of these people. These people are engaged. They understand the processes. It's not a clown show, it's not just this angry. It's not just anger. It's anger and with a knowledge, which is important, because I see sometimes, we can go out, jump off the cliff into despair. And so you got to have some hope, and you got to have some knowledge of how to fight back. So I want to set up a thing, and we do lives for them, but I want to set up a thing where they can talk to one another.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important, because you're doing that for your community, for your audience, is to keep people connected when this what's happening is so mentally disturbing.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to stay connected right now.
Well, that's why
you do that so well.
Thank you, Sarah. That's why we're shouldering up with you to make sure that we're keeping the voices high and the chins up and the shoulders back, as I say each morning. So great to have you on. We will have you on again sooner than later. Sarah Jones, y'all. Thanks for being with us, Sarah. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moray. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's Morey spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In 1939, when Europe was on the brink of war, a single mother was bringing Jewish refugees into her home, teaching her two daughters to help others when you can and fight injustice. Freddie and Charles Offerstegen took their mother's advice to heart, joining their mother in distributing anti-Nazi newspapers and pamphlets for the resistance, a dangerous act when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. But with the girls being young, Freddie being only 14 and Charles being only 16, Nazis were less likely to suspect them to be working for the resistance. This is most likely why in 1941, a commander of the Haarlem resistance group to ask their mother if he could recruit Freddie and Truss. Their mother and the girls agreed and were given basic training, and within 2 years the girls are bringing Jewish refugees into hiding, working in emergency hospitals, sabotaging bridges and railway lines, and killing Nazis, sometimes ambushing them from their bicycles. Despite the Netherlands not wanting to acknowledge the girls' achievements, their contributions to helping the Allied powers will never be unnoticed.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers possible late today with partial sunshine developing and a high in the low 70s. Winds out of the southeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, a low near 57. By Tuesday, mostly sunny, high of 71 degrees. And Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies, a high of 65. Thursday, partial sunshine, high of 70. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 56.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
As we welcome back to the show, Tom Hartman will be here, book signing event at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. That's sold out. If you reserved a seat and you're planning to attend, WCPT will be there to welcome you in as early as 6 p.m. for the 7 p.m. event. Tickets for the October 15th Labor Panel are still available. We've changed, as I said earlier, and it's been announced that we changed the venue that was going to be out at the Labor location in Broadview. We've moved it up to Max and Benny's from 3 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday the 15th. So just to let you guys know that, those who are attending, Tom and I will be co-hosting the Labor Panel at Max and Benny's, not in Broadview as previously scheduled. If you can't make it out to the Labor Panel, be sure to tune in to WCPT day after tomorrow, Wednesday, from 3 to 5. You'll hear it live. So I look forward to you guys being participants in that. Great to have Sarah with us this morning, and we really recognize her strength as a writer, as a journalist. Make sure that you are following her on social media. She posts some amazing work. And what's been great is a number of people that have said, wow, I've heard Sarah on the show over the last couple of months, and really been listening to her and following the things that she's been writing. So that always makes me happy that we've been able to amplify the voice of someone that speaks so well in this space. But anyhow, this morning as we are here in our 7:30 hour, and it's so great to be back with you guys after a week off. It's so great to be back on the show and talking with all of you and getting your text messages and all. This gentleman's been with us before, and so he's not a stranger to Choose Views. And I dare say he's making the rounds. He's talking to a little bit of everybody, as he should. Leaving MAGA, that is an organization that was started by my good friend Rich Logis, who, and I say that respectfully in terms of good friend. We've never met face to face, but the work that he's doing puts him into the friend category because he recognizes how important it is to make the changes and provide a bridge, as I've said, an opportunity for people to change course and to do something a little bit different than they had when it comes to having been part of MAGA. So I want to welcome to the show. Good morning, Rich. How are you today?
Hey, Richard. Good to be back with you. We're leaving MAGA is just trying to bring good news to the afflicted. So appreciate you having us again today. It's good to be back.
Absolutely, man. You've been busy the last few weeks since we had you on last time. What's been going on in your world? Where have you been? What have you been talking about? Who you been talking to?
Yeah, we've actually never been busier, and something that we just recently started in addition to our testimonials and all the storytelling of all of our leaders who left is we have online free support groups that we've been doing for friends and family. And one of the recommendations that we've put forth for friends and family is to let go of the idea that we can control what others think. And I think that for a lot of our attendees, there's an albatross that's been lifted from their shoulders because there's a desperation, Rich, that people have to try to get their friends and family out of MAGA. And I very much can relate to the desperation, but the change can only come from the individual. And what we ask friends and family to do is to just be a friendly ear and let their MAGA loved ones and close friends know that if they ever have doubts, if they're ever questioning their belief system, that there's someone that they can turn to. And so we've continued these support groups. For those who want to attend, we meet every Thursday night online. These are free. And anyone who wants information, they can go and subscribe to our newsletter at our site, leavingmaga.org.
That's fantastic. We're trying to get Anthony. Anthony Brooks is going to be our guest this morning. We're trying to get him connected, so we'll just have to. Henry's making all the effort to get that done. So, Rich, I mean, this is a question that I get from folks that follow the show. I'll get a text message, after you've been on. They will say this, and that is the question that I want to ask you. We didn't get a chance to ask you this last time, and is that how do you handle, meaning Rich Logis? You started this organization. You put things in place to help people have the bridge, and that's my language that you and I have kind of agreed on. You created this bridge for folks to get to the other side or to get back. But how do you deal with when people criticize, and this is a nuanced thing, but this is kind of how my brain works sometimes, the criticism that would come from people that push back and say something along these lines. Well, how did you get there in the first place? Why did you get there in the first place? Why should I trust you? Sort of in that vein. You know what I'm talking about. How do you handle the pushback from people that won't accept what you're doing, so to the extent that they say, well, I don't know if I really believe in this. So you get my question? You get the framework of the question?
Yes. And, let me say, Rich, I understand why people who have never been in MAGA might say that and think that. There's a lot of trauma that exists as a result of the last decade. But something that I've noticed in some of my interactions with people who have never been MAGA is they ask oftentimes, what's wrong with you, or some variation of that question. And I think a better question than what's wrong with you is, what happened to you? Because for anyone who reads the stories of all of our leaders who have left, yes, everyone goes through an individual journey, but people deal with their own trauma, and I believe that the trauma that they've endured in whatever form it's been made them susceptible to falling prey to a lot of the MAGA and right-wing propaganda. So I very much sympathize with that distrust, those feelings of skepticism. But something that I would encourage them to also consider is anyone who changes their mind and seeks genuine penitence, I believe that those people are worthy of at least some consideration of grace. And if we're gonna challenge what's happening in the country right now with the Trump administration, what we need to be doing is forging alliances. And sometimes, Rich, an alliance needs to be formed with unlikely individuals and groups, and unlikely but necessary alliances.
Yeah.
And I think when framed that way, I a lot of times have these conversations, and I could feel the tone shift a little bit, where the non-MAGA person might say, okay, Rich, I get what you're saying, but I don't, Rich, I also don't think that anyone should just blindly accept someone who's left MAGA. In fact, one of the non-negotiable requirements of our organization is that anyone who leaves, to be considered as truly having left, one has to take accountability for their past actions and rhetoric. We have no ideological purity test. No one has to become a Democrat or a Republican. They don't need to vote a certain way, but they do need to take accountability for their past. And I believe when we show that to the general public, it can start to eliminate some of the suspicions that others might have about those who sincerely left.
Yeah, and I think that part right there is what so many people want to hear, want to know, and the purity testing isn't a requirement, but taking some accountability for things that you did or may have believed in that led to you doing certain things, or maybe treating people in a certain manner. One of the things that I found, Rich, is that a lot of people that feel that way are ones who may have been harmed by something that MAGA, quote unquote, has done, or that MAGA prevented from happening. And that's where some of that angst and frustration comes from. But at the end of the day, I think that it's critically important that people know with an organization like Leaving MAGA that your requirement, if you will, or part of this is that you've got to take accountability. You've got to take some responsibility for the things that you may have done or believed in, or how that may have impacted people's lives around you. And I think that makes a big difference when this leap, if you will, of trust is out there for people to have to kind of get their heads around.
You know, and MAGA, for me, just as for most, I believe, Rich, it provided a community, a camaraderie, a purpose, and a sense of belonging and gathering. And what I've tried to help build with our leaders, which really they deserve the credit and not I, is we've looked to counter MAGA and create our own community and safe space for former Trump voters to heal, to reconnect, and to find a reconciliation with their friends and family. Because if someone is going to leave a community, they really need a place to go.
Yeah.
And I believe that without a place to go, even people in MAGA, Rich, who know deep down they should leave, they're not going to go because it's scary to walk away from something that has shaped their identity, their being, and their personhood over the last many, many years. So it's a testament to all of our supporters, all of our leaders, that our community continues to grow. You know, I was thinking today about all the leaders who have joined us on all of our times together here on the show, and we have more testimonials that we're working on. And I think that there's going to be a gradual and then sudden exit of a lot of people in MAGA who are looking around, and I believe deep down they know that something is amiss in the country. And we want to be a destination and an exit ramp and an off-ramp for them.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I've been, and this is not about me, but I just want to make a point of what you just said being important. I've taken some criticism from people that say, why would you have this guy on? Why would you have these people on? They've harmed us, blah, blah, blah. And I get that. I got big shoulders and wide arms. I can handle that criticism or observation. But it's because I know that if we connect with those who are making the effort, and they've sort of crossed your requirement, if you will, it's a heavy word, but accountability, that oftentimes they can be some of the best soldiers to get more people to come back to the middle, if you will. And I don't mean that politically, but come back to a place where they can go, you know what, I can be one of the best recruiters to get people away from that way of thinking, way of being, because I've been there, I've been in the cauldron, and now we can then start to galvanize as citizens, as brothers and sisters in this country, if we're going to call ourselves that, to fix the problems that are really making this worse. And that's who's been elected, what business interests are behind them, to the point of what Sarah, who was on before you, was saying. But it may, to your point, Rich, it may require a little bit of allyship with someone that you didn't think you would be allies with. But if the common good is to fix these issues that we have when it comes to racism and sexism and Christian nationalism and privilege, then, it does mean all players. As I say in my opening, all players means all players.
No, and thank you, Rich, for saying that. And some of our leaders have taken on the responsibility and assumed the onus of being a voice for change, and the willingness to endure and receive the slings and arrows that come from people who are still in MAGA and don't believe that it's possible to have left and changed our minds. And I actually even relate to some of that, Rich, to some extent, because it's not a natural act for people to apologize and to change their minds. And it's certainly not a natural act to do all of that publicly.
Yeah.
But yet, we have some of our leaders who have done that, and they've gone through their own journeys and experiences, and no one has asked anyone to just blindly accept that we said some abhorrent and made some abhorrent statements in the past, including myself. When I think about a lot of what I've said and my activism of the past, it's a reminder to me all the time about why I and our organization need to continue to work to make amends. And there's an old saying that activism is a life sentence, and I feel like Leaving MAGA has embraced that idea while we try to bring that good news to the afflicted, and I don't mean just the afflicted of those in MAGA, but friends and family as well, because friends and family, they need some hope and they need some optimism as well, and our leaders are living proof that it is possible to change.
Yeah, I think and one of the biggest things that comes my way from listeners, and I they want to know and feel that people are willing to take responsibility for the hurt and the harm that they have caused, whether it be in their words or in their deeds. And I think that allows people to have a sense of, okay, I can get with this organization, I can get with these people because they're showing signs of responsibility and accountability for the forgiveness to come through and for the reconnection to come through. That's there, and when that's there, I believe people then are capable of saying, yes, we will welcome you back, and yes, we will embrace what you're trying to do now because you've taken responsibility for what you did then, and that's hugely important. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Rich Logis, who is the founder and leader of an activist group that we will call none other than Leaving MAGA. And it's great to have you on as always, Rich. And I know you've been busy. You've been talking to a lot of folks. And what I see when I look at what's going on at your website and in terms of how you're growing is the number of people that are coming they're coming to the party. They're recognizing that they do need to take responsibility and accountability for the hurt and the harm that they've caused, and as a result of that, the organization has really been a spot for people to come and to galvanize and to fix this problem, or to be a participant in fixing rather than causing further harm.
Yeah, and I think that the active engagement that we've tried to participate in is we want people to know that at one time we dehumanized others. I certainly did. I look at what a lot of the Republican rhetoric that's said about Democrats, what it's like. It isn't that MAGA and the Republican Party look at the Democratic Party and say that they're wrong, that they're misguided, we disagree. I could live with all of that. Instead, if we look at the language, it really vilifies the opposition as Marxists and communists and socialists. You know, we could hear what Speaker Mike Johnson has said about the upcoming No Kings protest, that it's full of Antifa, who's not a real group, pro-Hamas, Marxists. You know, and to which I say to that, you know, so what if they're Marxists and pro-Hamas? I'm not pro-Hamas, but people who are Marxists have the same rights to peaceably assemble and freedom of speech as people who don't share those beliefs. So I think that it's Leaving MAGA is uniquely positioned to be able to counter and challenge that kind of rhetoric, because that kind of rhetoric all it does is raise the temperature. And what have we been talking about in the last many, many weeks since the murder of Charlie Kirk is lowering the temperature.
Yeah.
So that's not what the Republican Party is doing. Their incendiary language is significantly increasing that temperature when they should be doing the opposite.
And it's coming from the voice of the people that are the three leading in terms of our secession, from Trump, from Vance, and from Johnson. I mean, we can't deny that. And it's one thing that when I followed and looked at some of the other places that you've been in terms of your talking, other shows that you've been on, and there, more of this needs to happen, Rich, and I know you know this. Those three, along with all the GOP right now, because of the incendiary language, but those three in particular have to be called out for what they're saying about other U.S. citizens. I mean, for J.D. Vance and to be saying what he's saying, and for Johnson to be saying what he's saying, and obviously Trump is at the top of the heap in that, literally. That's not right now what's needed in this country. And then we've got the other people in the administration, the Kristi Noems and the Stephen Millers and all, that are using the language that they're in fact saying should not be used. They're using it in their description of the conversation, which is strangely insane that's happening right now. But we have to keep calling it out. We can't shy away from those conversations, I believe.
You know, I said last year, Rich, at the Democratic National Convention, I did a video testimonial. And in that testimonial, I said that I made a grave mistake for supporting Trump and MAGA. And I also said that I believed at the time, and I still believe right now, that Trump's toxic superpower is lying. And it saddens me to say this, that we have one of our major parties who lies about essentially everything. There's no issue or lie too small, medium, or large for them to engage in. And if someone is on the right side, the correct side of issues, there is no need to lie about everything. Mm-hmm. So it begs the question why the GOP does that. I don't believe that they are on the right side of most issues, and if they were, they wouldn't need to resort to the sheer frequency and depth of falsehoods that they traffic in. So I think it begs the question for listeners and for everyone in the country, which is why the need, the felt need to be untruthful about everything. And at one time when I was in MAGA, I trafficked in mis and disinformation as well. The problem was that I was information siloed. I only consumed right-wing media, and I didn't realize just how information siloed I was. And while I'm not going to say that MAGA is the only echo chamber in the country, I will say this, Rich, and I say it with confidence, that there's no group of people who are more information siloed than is MAGA.
Really?
And I know that I can attest to that from having lived it for more than half a decade.
See. So listen, all right, put a pin in that right there and make a note to yourself, because I'm going to make a note to myself. I want to talk about that again sooner than later, because right now there's such a question on people's mind, and that is what and why are folks that are part of MAGA not releasing from it. And I've said for the longest time, and you've said it better than I, that the information sources are lacking. And as a result of that, you are susceptible to just, if you're only getting one bit of information or from one source, then that's all you're going to have access to and to believe. So, Rich, do me a favor and put a pin in that, because I want to have you back on sooner than our normal rotation to talk about that, because I think it's relevant and important for people to understand where and how, what that's all about, and then how we can put some meat on that bone to kind of layer it with a little bit more depth. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely, Rich. Anytime.
All right, man. Well, listen, we're going to finish up today. I'm going to reach out to you. We're going to put that together to have you back in the next week or so to talk about that very topic right there. You and me getting into the information and what we might be able to do to try to, to affect that in a different direction. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to do it, Rich. Thank you.
All right, man. Rich Logis, founder of Leaving MAGA. Thanks for being with us as always. I'm glad you're well. You stay safe as well, and we'll get this thing put together and have you back on sooner than later. Does that sound good?
I appreciate it, Rich, and anyone who wants to learn more about our leaders and our testimonials, please visit us at leavingmaga.org. Get on our newsletter, and we'll let you know also about our upcoming support groups.
Absolutely. All right, man. Thanks for being with us. Talk with you real soon, okay?
Okay, thanks, Richard. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Guys, it's been great hanging with everybody. It's good to be back. My man Henry has got us rolling like just running down the track smoothly, y'all. As I say always, and I don't take it lightly, but what do we say? We take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll be back tomorrow.
Fall is here and colder nights are on the way. Is your home ready to stay warm and energy efficient? Green Attic is Chicagoland's trusted expert in attic insulation, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, and mold remediation, solutions that seal in comfort and cut down on high heating bills. If your upstairs feels drafty or your heating system is constantly running, your attic may be to blame. Their team helps balance temperatures and reduce energy waste from the top down. They also offer full-service roofing through Green Attic Roofing, covering asphalt shingles, flat roofs, premium roofing solutions, and solar panels. Every project comes with a 10-year labor warranty and instant online estimates to help homeowners replace aging roofs before winter sets in. With over 15 years of experience and over 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic delivers real